I'm Nick Davis. This is Lean Live, impromptu broadcast put together at short notice, who's the very kind and generous with his time, Brian Gardner, who's joining me from snowy Chicago. How's it going, Brian?
It's going good, just like you said, snow, and I'm going to do a quick follow me here out to prove that it's in fact snowing here in Chicago. You can see out there that it is in fact coming down, which is awfully crazy for a middle of May, but
yeah, I think they're pushing it a bit right now. They need to do something about it. So thank you for taking the time. Obviously, I know how busy you are in general, but particularly at the moment with everything going on, to just have a quick chat. And I know we're thinking about maybe just having a call, just us, but I thought it would be great for other people to potentially hear what you have to say as well. So first of all, I mean, how's everything going at the moment? How did it go for you guys? Obviously, well, perhaps I think pretty much everyone's who is watching this is going to know who you are, but is it worth just saying maybe a few people found the link don't know Brian Gardner as well as I do and the rest of the Genesis community does? Maybe you want to do a short intro, just in case?
Yeah, sure. No, so I'm Brian Gardner. I am a avid Starbucks fan, also known as the guy who listens to Sarah McLachlan. Outside of that, I run. I like to shoot Instagram shots and post those online, but most notably, founder of Studiopress, arguably the creator of the premium WordPress theme space. 4 years ago in September, merged with Brian Clark and a few other people to form Copyblogger Media. Now we offer full-fledged marketing and content software, optimization, all kinds of stuff, hosting and the likes. And so co-founder, co-creator, I guess, of the Genesis framework. It was kind of conceptually in my head. Nathan Rice I hired back in the day to start building it, and I am the designer of some, used to be most, but now we have Lauren Menke on board now of the designs, in other words, the child themes. So a whole lot of stuff online.
Cool. And I know you guys recently, obviously Studiopress is part of, Copyblogger. I know you guys had a big conference the other day. I think was it last week? Authority. How did that go?
It was incredible. It was our first live Copyblogger specific conference. We actually, that's not true. We did Agent Press live last year, but from an authority standpoint, this was our first conference. They had about 400 to 500 people at the conference, which was the perfect amount of people. Brian Clark kicked it off in amazing fashion. The whole event was just top-notch. Everything I've seen for people who were there, just reviews or things on social media, everybody seemed to have a great time. A lot of marquee speaker names that were there. Seth Godin was one of our keynotes. Darren Rouse was another. All kinds of great people talking, and it was actually quite humbling because I spoke also, and speaking on the same stage as someone like Seth and Darren is quite ominous, to be honest with you. But it was a good time, and great stuff.
And who made Bill Erickson go on after Seth Godin? He said he handled it well.
Yeah, I talked to Bill right before he went on stage, and number of times afterwards. Bill did a really great job on stage. It was Brian Clark's idea. Really, what it came down to was Brian kind of set the speaking itinerary in a very kind of from start to finish in terms of content and going online and all the kind of stuff that falls in between. So unfortunately for Bill, it just happened to the timing of his particular talk fit right after Seth, and Bill did a great job, and as did everybody.
Okay, I know you guys are working on another exciting project at the moment, New Rainmaker. I mean, can you say much about that? I had a chance to have a little look at it this week. Is there any more you can tell us on that?
Yeah, so New Rainmaker, for those who don't know, is basically the 4 years of our company coming together in the making. It's more or less a turnkey solution that covers everything that we have from a software standpoint, taking Genesis and our child themes and offering that up in a hosted environment along with all kinds of tools in an integrated dashboard that is been completely redesigned by Rafal, our designer, more or less to put emphasis and focus on publishing content easily online. And we're in the middle of the pilot period right now. For more information on it, you can go to newrainmaker.com/platform to see. I think there's a video on that page that talks about what we're doing. But it's definitely something that we've been talking about as a partner team for the last 4 years, and it's finally all come together.
Okay, yeah, I must say, I mean, you can see a lot of work's gone into kind of the particular admin side and stuff as well. I think you can really tell he's done a deep dive on that. Mm-hmm. So, I guess the other thing maybe on the horizon, you guys are Genesis 2.0. I can't remember the date on it now. It was a while back, but I mean, I think that was regarded as a pretty successful release. It really kind of set a new bar. HTML5 and some of the things you guys put in there. In terms of like Genesis 2.1 for those developers and stuff watching who run their sites on that. Can they, is there any indication at this stage of the kind of things they can expect? Is it more just tweaks and small updates, or are you guys still figuring all those things out?
Yeah, so a lot of people, there's a misconception that Genesis is stale because, we haven't updated in a major standpoint since, I think it was August last year when we came out with 2.0. The beauty of 2.0 is that there was so much thought and time put into it that it's an incredibly stable piece of software. And so with the exception of just a few enhancements that we've made since then, I think SEO and Google Plus profile type stuff would be at the top of that list. There hasn't been a real need to come out with an update. From a security standpoint, it's tight. Mark Jaquith, pretty much with every point release, has been hired to do a security audit, so we've never had to kind of deal with that. And so with the whole new Rainmaker platform being worked on by pretty much everyone on our team, Genesis has been put on the back burner to some degree, but there hasn't been a need to kind of come out with anything new. There's a number of tickets we've had, in GitHub, just small-ish type things, add filter here, maybe tweak something there kind of thing. We are in the process, Nathan and I spoke even last week in Denver, kind of road mapping what that's going to look like. So 2.1, we're hoping for probably a early summer release just to kind of clear out all of the existing tickets we have and kind of put to rest either some things that we will or won't do. Just kind of, there'll be a very subtle design, update to the parent theme. Subtle right now. I may even go further and kind of give it a complete new facelift in the same way that WordPress comes out with the 2010, 11, 12, and 13 thing. So I may just completely redesign kind of the Genesis parent theme just to give it a fresh look. But outside of that, a lot of cool things are happening with themes. That's really kind of what it comes down to is, the cool factor isn't always so much in Genesis itself, it's what we do in the child themes. And, we've been doing a number of things kind of in the past few months in terms of pushing out new themes. We've got a handful of themes already done that are kind of, now that we're kind of in the pilot period of Rainmaker, we've got a little bit more bandwidth for our team to do some testing and documenting. And so new themes should be coming out every couple of weeks, for the foreseeable future. Agentpress Pro is going to be and should be the first one that comes out on Studiopress now. We've done some cool stuff with responsive menus. I know that's been something that people have talked about, and our team finally came up with a really, really, really good solution. If you want to see what that looks like, you can go to the 1140 or the Parallax demo sites on the Studiopress and check it out on your mobile phone or whatnot. So we are working our way through updating themes to kind of give that better user experience. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that we've been doing behind the scenes that people don't know about because it's not always been visible or talked about, but that doesn't mean we're not working on it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I actually love that fact with you guys that you put out 2.0 and you're not just. I think that's one of the things people like really with Genesis and Studiopress is you're not just putting out an update every kind of 3 months just because to say here's some nice new shiny thing just for the sake of it, and that's not the kind of that's not. I think that's reflected in everything you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
All the way down to your own kind of love in terms of minimalism and things, which is obviously translated into a lot of your blog designs. Like most recently, of course, on Unfiltered, which I think I'm on record for saying I'm a fan of. Like, how's that really gone for you? That kind of because obviously your personal blog, BrianGardner.com, has been redesigned so many times, and now going to Unfiltered. Is that has it been like as liberating as you thought it would be? Is it? I mean, how has that worked out for you?
So yeah, that was a whole interesting period of my life, trying to figure out what to do, because I love to write, I love to design, I love to share, and trying to wade through what was going on at BrianGardner.com. The initial intent was to just take off everything business and put it over either on Studiopress or Copyblogger, but there was something unsettling about leaving BrianGardner.com the way it was, even with personal stuff. I got a tremendous amount of link juice there, and I didn't want to even use that to leverage for search, because then as you start to think about that kind of stuff, then it starts to curtail what you write about. And I really, really felt in my heart one night, actually, I just made the decision, I'm just going to start over. I kind of wanted to go back to the grassroots of it all, starting something new, coming up with a new name, with a new identity. And, I didn't use BrianGardner.com for any kind of lead generation or any kind of, there was no fiscal purpose behind it. And so it's not like I was throwing away what potentially could have been something lucrative, because it didn't matter to me. I have a job at Copyblogger. I love what I do, and that's where I make my money. And so it was easy for me to just kind of whittle that site down and remove in its entirety the list I had built there and just start over. And so for the first month and a half, 2 months of Unfiltered, it was really going well. I was rebuilding an audience, and I hadn't really redesigned at all. I think I made one change, which was just to put a background image there to kind of help frame the content a little more. And it's been really, really liberating, as you say. I love that my company allows me to kind of write personally and to share authentic words. And so from that perspective, it's been really good. It's been also tough to stay authentic, because there's always that ebb and flow of, factors that kind of come in and, kind of fester themselves in you, where, one day it's easy to say, I don't care about numbers, I don't want comments, I don't want any of that stuff, I just want to write, and then the next day, whether it's something you read or something you see online, it just that, I think that search for significance, which is really what it comes down to, kind of always creeps back in and says, it should matter how many people are following your blog, how many people are commenting. And so it's been really kind of hard of late to kind of suppress that. And so I just stopped writing for a few weeks. And I just posted again this morning kind of talking about that, I make the kind of joke, but there's truth in it, that I've been being filtered at Unfiltered, which kind of seems, ironic, but the reality of it is that is what it has been. And so I took some time away to kind of regroup and recalibrate. And, one of the other reasons why I chose Unfiltered as a name, as opposed to something personal like BrianGardner.com, is that at some point I wanted to kind of entertain the idea of collaboration and leaving it open to multi-author at some point if I wanted to go that route. And so Unfiltered kind of allows that. I don't know if that will happen. It's been on my mind more and more. So we'll see where it goes. You know, if anything, it's kind of a pet project. It's just kind of a way to kind of a creative outlet for me. And if it helps other people and people benefit from it, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw you mention on Twitter about the multi-author thing. It's actually something that kind of struck me when you launched it. I almost dropped you an email to say, hey, you know, why don't you, because you can almost start a movement with it, perhaps, with other people. I mean, obviously, I can go and start my own blog and do unfiltered style writing, and you even kindly made the theme available to people. But does that have a lot of appeal for you at the moment, something like that? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, long before Unfiltered, I mean, you could probably search my Twitter stream, you know, as far back as 2 years ago. I've wanted to do some sort of collaboration in some sense, for all kinds of reasons. You know, whether it's, you know, guys blog, men's interest, Christian stuff, whatever it may be. You know, when you have your own blog, there's always a degree of I need to publish content often, and when you have that mind frame, sometimes you have a tendency to publish less quality content in the sacrifice to get out a quantity of, you know, content. And so I just thought, you know, at some point, whether it's now or in the future, it would just be really cool to find a core group of people, guys, girls, whoever, around a certain interest or idea and write about it. It helps, you know, kind of from the sharing standpoint, you've got more people to help share it, but that's, you know, in the context of Unfiltered and Life Without Numbers, that's less of an important thing. But more than anything, it kind of, you know, opens up a bigger community feel, and I love the online community. So we'll see. You know, I need to just continue writing kind of as is, and, you know, over the coming months, I, you know, have a few lines out in the water to kind of talk to some people about potentially collaborating. And, you know, the danger I have in going too far on Unfiltered as me is that people have the expectation that it's going to be my personal blog, and the idea of more of a collaboration thing, you know, might, you know, I don't want to mislead people by saying, hey, follow me in my personal journey, and then boom, one day it's going to be a bunch of people, you know, collaborating. So I'm just trying to balance that out.
Sure, I understand. Cool. Well, I wanted to also, if I can, maybe be like a tiny bit selfish with your time as well, and hopefully some other people listening can benefit. You know, I'm someone who I don't think is like particularly well known, I'd say, in the Genesis community. I'm like privileged to have a few community members that follow me, and you know, partly that's because I haven't made the kind of contributions and stuff that I would like to yet, but I'd certainly hope to in the future. And I'm, you know, someone who's been pushing out you know, custom themes for client work, and I've been really inspired by people like Bill Erickson. I mean, that guy is just so generous, you know, in terms of the stuff he shares, and, you know, almost basically giving his business model to anyone else that wants to follow him. You know, I mean, I've never met him personally, but you know, what a top guy. So that's helped me a lot. But, you know, recently, you know, obviously we're talking on leanthemes.co, and I know theme shops are kind of not the most, perhaps let's say, original business idea in 2014 or where we are right now. But Derry, the designer, and myself, you know, we really wanted to do something together, and this just seemed like a good outlet for us. And it might sound kind of a bit silly, but for us, I think it's as much like a creative outlet as well. You know, when I see his designs, to me, obviously I'm biased, but, you know, I love his work, and that's why we decided to work together. So,
sure.
You know, in the end, we've just put out one theme so far, and we treaded kind of fairly softly. We did a 0.9, and we had some great feedback from people, things they liked, things they didn't like. So, you know, for us, we're not looking to just suddenly blow up to loads of sales or whatever. We're quite happy to just sit there and, you know, keep improving our current theme, and then when we're ready, we'll add more. But, you know, obviously you're a guy who's, you know, I mean, I think in most people's eyes, kind of made this business what it is. You know, invented this kind of business. So, I mean, it's a little bit different today. But is there any like general advice you would give, you know, us as a theme shop? You know, even if it's a growing side project for us at the moment. But is there general advice you would give us? I'm thinking practical advice and stuff as well in terms of like support stuff, because I know you guys shifted gears on support a while ago. You had a forum, Studiopress, and you've gone to like a kind of well, actually, I haven't had to submit a ticket since that happened, so I guess it's a ticket thing. Or maybe I should submit one just to see what happens. But is that something maybe you could share? And I'm sure it would apply to lots of other people listening as well.
So yeah, so many quality developers and designers out there in the WordPress community as a whole, but also in the Genesis community, and it seems like there's been a movement, albeit somewhat slow, for freelancers and creative agencies kind of to say, hey, they see the value in the whole, selling a theme, because, it's the whole make money while you sleep kind of deal. Obviously, back when I started Revolution, I was doing freelance work and started selling it, and, from that perspective, there was, selling a theme was way more financially beneficial than being paid for my time, especially because back then I had a full-time job, and it was hours were at a premium. Do I think that it's possible for people, whether it be individuals or companies, to kind of come together and work within the ecosystem of Genesis? And I'll speak in terms of Genesis specifically, just because it makes the most sense in the context of our call here. Yes, there's a number of folks who are who've taken the kind of step from just doing freelance work for one-off clients or custom type stuff to kind of building a store, if you will. For example, Lindsay Reel, pretty darn cute design. She's doing fantastic. Selling her themes and recommending as an affiliate people to come over to buy Genesis from us. She's a good example. Rebecca and Chris over at Web Savvy Marketing, they're another good example of people who've really embraced that model. They've got 30-ish, maybe even more themes that they sell, totally unique in design, and they sell themes and encourage Genesis purchases. So they're another good example. And so the big piece of advice that I would suggest would be identifying a particular area of publishing or niche, if you will. That's really where people are finding the opportunity to make money, not just create another nice looking theme and hope someone buys it, because there's plenty of those around. Shay Box is a great example. She designed a food blogging theme for Genesis, and it's something that we sell as a third-party theme on Studiopress, and she's doing really, really well. She just happened to find the right, opportunity, the right area where there's just such a huge need and demand, but there aren't a ton of food blogging Genesis themes around, and so this isn't my way of saying go create a food blog theme and compete with her, but it because you don't want to be the you don't want to be the second or third or fourth person to a particular part of the market. You want to be the first person. So whether it's real estate, whether it's law, whether it's medical, whatever, education, there's plenty of areas where people can create good stuff and hit the market at the right time and then make a lot of money from it.
Okay, and obviously you guys promote third-party themes. That's something you obviously see continuing through Studiopress.
It is. We don't want to just make it wide open because we're trying to do a balance of third-party themes, which we think there's a huge amount of value for our users, as well as our own. And so what we don't want to do is start stuffing it with a number of themes that are of less quality and just really provide well-built themes in areas that we haven't necessarily addressed yet, or just kind of offering one from the community, one from us in a particular area. Real estate would be a good example. We've got the Winning Agent theme from Carrie Dills and my friend Rich Hardian, and so that's their solution, and we've got AgentPress, and so at that point we won't add any more real estate themes. We don't want to flood our page and just offer up the best solution from the community and from us. And so so there's an example. Food blogging theme is another one. Shay's got her theme. We're working on our own. And so we're just really trying to just balance balance out kind of the supply and demand and go from there.
Okay, and I touched on it a little bit before, but it's, before we spoke about doing lean themes. Not that we were expecting to sell 10,000 themes overnight and suddenly have a big headache, but support is one of the things people, I'd maybe say, worry about. Because and in fact, this is one of the things I was talking to Kim Doyle, the WP chick, about it.
Yep, sure.
A couple of days ago. And she asked me straight off. She said, "Why did you go with like Genesis in the first place?" I gave her a tiny bit of my background, and I said, I think I came to Genesis around late 2010, maybe early 2011, and I said, for me at the time, it was Genesis, and there was kind of thesis, and I wasn't someone who was hugely perhaps technical then. I've been working in websites, 10 plus years, and it was still reasonably new to WordPress, so it was still kind of that beginner's mind thing now that of course we don't have. But I said, I like the designs, I like the kind of the messaging you guys were saying, but the big thing that really got me over the line probably was where you were just like unlimited, don't worry about a developer option, don't worry about this, and this. And I've seen some people, kind of react against that and say, this is dangerous to try business on unlimited. But clearly, it's worked for you guys. Now, as I mentioned, you have changed how you do support. What was your opinion about how people can offer unlimited stuff? And maybe just if you feel comfortable, give us an insight into your maybe decision to switch support from kind of forum to ticket, or
Sure.
Perhaps that's completely unrelated.
So, back in the day when it was just me running Revolution and Studiopress, I didn't know any better, or, there were no other options other than just say, okay, unlimited support, unlimited everything, use our support forum for support, and it just kind of worked for a while. As I brought Studiopress on board Copyblogger Media, and sales tripled, thank you, Brian Clark, the scalability of a support forum quickly, it became very evident that that wasn't the best long-term scenario, and that was brought on in part by Tony Clark and just his vision of, that type of business. And so I think he was the first one who said, we need to kind of bring this into a different environment. And so we ultimately phased out the support forum, and we now use a ticket system kind of via email. We still have a community forum. We relaunched on bbPress a community forum, for kind of crowdsourcing stuff, which probably alleviates a little bit of our support. It also, allows people to go in and answer questions. Susan Ramsey, graphically designed, a great example of someone who's in there all the time cheerleading and helping, and she probably gets a degree of business from it too. So it kind of is an opportunity for people to, without poaching, go in and kind of establish themselves in the community. So there's that. In terms of the unlimited, that's kind of where in today's ecosystem, within WordPress, that is, a lot of people are vocally talking about how it's not sustainable, you can't do it, and for the most part, I'll agree with them, and I'll tell you why. At Copyblogger, Studiopress is one line of business that we have. We've got multiple lines of revenue. Premise was one, Scribe SEO is another, Synthesis, our hosting is another line of business, as is the whole educational side of Copyblogger, which includes things like Teaching Cells and Authority and our certification program. And so, we treat Studiopress kind of as the entryway into our entire, company, and that is why for us it's okay to continue doing what we do, which is offer the unlimited this and the unlimited that. It's not our only line of business, and so from that perspective, it works. For somebody who's by themselves offering a theme, I would probably suggest at this point, do the yearly thing. We're not going to do it at Studiopress, at least not that we've had talks about, but there's more sustainability in that, saying every year you're paying for a year's worth of this or updates or access to a forum or whatever. and that's more sustainable for the small business, the individual freelance type who's selling themes, because the unlimited, while it's a great marketing word and may sell a few more themes, will come back to you in terms of people sucking you for time and energy and that kind of thing. So it's not hypocritical that we have a model and I say otherwise, because for us it just works, since there's so many lines of businesses that we have that help kind of offset the the unlimited thing that we offer.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting to hear, because that's clearly I see all the time how well your guys' business is doing, and then I see other people avoiding that, and it's obviously something we thought about with lean themes. I don't know if you've seen the model on Easy Digital Downloads. Pippin Williamson, he has kind of like a free forum, sort of like we'll get to it when we can, and then he does a premium. I think people pay like $120 a year or something, and then that's we will get to your priority support. So I thought that was kind of an interesting model as well. So everyone has some level of support, but the people who really need it
right
can pay something as well. I should probably just say at this point, if people want to ask questions, and if you see my eyes flicking to the edge of the screen, it's not because I'm not interested in what Brian's saying, because it's a real privilege to speak to him. But I'm just if there's no questions, believe me, I have enough to more than push Brian to his next Starbucks visit. But if there are, I mentioned earlier, if people want to use the hashtag #LeanLive, which I just made up this morning, but I don't think it's clashing with anyone else. And also, if you're on the Google Hangout, there is a questions thing on the side, and there's a messaging thing. So one way or the other, we'll get that. I'll just say I do have another question for you. Before I get to that, it wasn't a question from Nia Rosenbaum. So not a question. He just wanted to. I don't know. So if you can see these as well.
Are they in the chat or the Q&A thing? Oh, here we go.
The Q&A. Yeah. So the Q&A. I'm pretty much a novice in this as well. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Brian. My entire business in Israel relies on Genesis. Started 3 years ago with my wife. She's an SEO expert. I can tell that choosing Genesis was the best decision in my business. So not a question, but something nice. While I'll keep my eye on, see if people do use the hashtag. But I want to. I do have one question about kind of front-end editors and Genesis, and maybe how you see those two things playing together. I was particularly interested in if you had a chance to see. I mean, I know things like Barley. I don't know if you've seen recently, but there's a Velocity page, which is a project I did a small bit of work on to sort of have a I don't know what the word is, a confession on that, but I'm not involved in the business. So to me, obviously with Mark involved, Mark Jaquith, that was really interesting to see, a guy of that level doing it from a business point of view, but also just, literally to see what he was doing. Is that something you had a chance to look at? I mean, your thoughts on maybe perhaps WordPress sort of front end like editing in general? I know it's sort of slated for core at some point, but then there's always going to be maybe what core does and what premium things do, and if you see any role for Genesis in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when Mark and John, I believe, they came out with this, I don't know, a few months back, and we've worked a few very small little kind of things out in terms of how it relates to Genesis. The whole front-end editor thing, drag and drop and build, in real time, is not anything that we will specifically be doing with Genesis. It's not like Headway. We're not doing anything like that. We just, more than anything, it's more cool than it is practical. I think the amount of people who use it versus the perception of the amount of people who use it are completely two different things. And again, with Genesis, the idea with Genesis isn't necessarily to make Genesis do everything. it's to allow Genesis to do what it needs to do, and then if there's other pieces of functionality or things like that that can, quote unquote, plug into Genesis or be done in the way of an add-on, and not by us, mind you, that is what we've chosen to kind of stay with, which is, building the core, extending it through child themes that can be, used to go online, and all the other cool stuff. There's so many plugins that have been built on Genesis. If you go to the repository and, click on the Genesis tag, you'll see pages and pages and pages. We could have probably built all of those ourselves, but there's a support factor involved. There's a development factor, and more than anything, in the same way that WordPress, itself has opened the door for, ecosystems like Genesis, we want to open that same ecosystem up to other people. And if that means people create stuff and sell stuff that are add-ons to Genesis, brilliant, right? We can't do everything. We don't have the firepower to do everything. Perfect example is Andrew Norcross and his Genesis Design Palette Pro plugin, which is ultimately kind of allowing, from a dashboard standpoint, a way to change the design of a particular theme. It's a brilliant idea. We're working, kind of alongside him to kind of just work out some things, and people have asked us to do it, and we just said, what, it's just not anything we're going to do. But those types of decisions open doors for smart entrepreneurial types like Andrew to kind of carve out a particular piece of the pie. So have I ever used any build it online kind of thing? No. Will I? No. Live editing and things like that, which are now being handled by other add-ons and part of WordPress core, we're just going to let that kind of take its course.
Yeah, I think for me, better than I do on this, but that I'm kind of pleased by your answer, and it wasn't a leading question for me to suggest that you guys should be looking to include that. I think one of those things which makes Genesis so good, like I touched on with the fact, you're not feeling the need to do an update like every quarter just because XYZ like shiny new feature was one of the things that appeals, and hopefully will be one of the reasons why Genesis will stick around for a long time, because that commitment to to that approach. And does it? I remember Andrew Warner asked you this it must be a few years ago now when you spoke to him, but does it feel? How does it feel knowing that, because obviously you're WordPress and then Genesis on top, and now people are running off making businesses and stuff on Genesis? It must give you like a small bit of pride to see that where it is now.
It does, but that gets quickly suffocated by the I didn't do anything that anybody else couldn't have done, or it wouldn't be fair for me to take that pride and say I built something great that are enabling other people to, like Near, who put that comment in there. It would be fair for me to take credit for that, because really what it comes back to is Matt and the whole creation of WordPress, because, in theory, that's what he allowed me to do. And I thanked him when I visited him and Tony out in California long ago. He allowed me and my family to live a life that we live today, and so, if anything, all it is paying it forward. Genesis was built on WordPress, and Matt has said, vocally many times, he's not at all against people making money with WordPress, and if that means selling themes, that's awesome, because he wants people to sell as many, to make as much money from WordPress as possible. And in the same breath, I kind of take that, I've done that, and now we've enabled other people to do that. So, from people who are creating themes or plugins or add-ons to Genesis, I would love it for people to make thousands and millions of dollars off of stuff that plugs into Genesis. So does it make me feel good? Does it affirm my efforts that people, and there are times, WordCamp Chicago, I think it was 2010 or 11, very humbling experience for me, almost to a point where I didn't even know what to say. a woman who flew out from San Diego and brought me a card and a flower to thank me for building Genesis, because she, has her company, as many do, exclusively on Genesis, and it was very humbling when she said, I wanted to just fly out and meet you and thank you for doing that. And those are the encounters that really, really matter to me. It's great to make money, but it's also extremely awesome to hear stories of people who are also doing the same thing.
Okay, and can we expect? Obviously the child themes you guys, you mentioned Lauren. I think some of the child themes you guys have put out recently have just been fantastic. But are we? Do you think there'll be some more designs from yourself as well in the near future?
Yeah. So we hired Lauren about a year ago to more or less be creative director at Studiopress, in part because I wanted to back away a little bit from the responsibility, but also kind of from the diversification standpoint. A lot of my work has a tendency to look like my work, and so we wanted to kind of bring in, and I've known Lauren for probably 6 or 7 years now, and so I knew she was the right person to bring on board. So between her and I, we're kind of back and forthing it right now. She's having a baby in a few weeks, which means that for the next 2 months it'll be more me than her. But we are more or less kind of at a 50% rate. Hopefully more will be, as time goes on, she's going to take over more and more of all of it. But excuse me. So yes, I still love to design. I still love to create, and I don't know of any circumstance that would ever turn me away from wanting to continue to do that, at least right now, until further notice. It may not be as frequently as it has been in the past, but I still have the creative mojo going, and I want to nurture that.
Okay. Well, I was thinking perhaps maybe the only thing that would stop you is if all the Starbucks near you closed. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I just want it's great he came on, and obviously for us, leanthemes.co is still like a new project, so just being able to kind of talk to you on this platform is awesome for us as well, being who you are. But I just wanted to, I think you name-checked a couple of people already, but are there any people you think in a Genesis community in particular, or even outside of that in WordPress, you think maybe don't get enough love or like attention at the moment, or doing cool stuff that perhaps hasn't reached everyone's consciousness you'd like to give a shout out to in design or development or anything? Sure. Really?
First person that comes to mind is Brad Potter. He's a guy I've kind of known online for the last couple of years. He has a full-time job. He lives in Alaska. He flies by once in a while and does some awesome stuff and shares it. But I think Brad is one of those guys from a design standpoint. He has a very unique design sensibility. He gets the coding part, because I've even seen him as recently as this morning, talking about, kind of forking some of our plugins and kind of doing his own thing. Brad Potter is a brilliant, brilliant guy. And I don't think he's as known in the community as he should be, even though people know who he is. But he's not that rock star in your face, I want all the attention. He's such a humble guy. So I definitely want to give Brad Potter a shout out. Designers within the community, Megan Gray, she was a freelancer. She's done some time with 10up, and I think she's back to kind of being a freelancer. She's one of those people where you don't, because she's she's a great designer. She I think had something to do with the recent 10up redesign, and stuff I've seen from her. Really, really good work. She's another one. I'm trying to think of, off the top of my head, who else would be.
Yes, I don't mean to be on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I know a lot of people in the community.
I mean, for me, you'd say she's already so well known, but I just think it's maybe from my point of view. I already said Go Erickson, of course, everyone knows, but I think we touched on it, just on the pre-call quickly. Carrie Deals, and some of the articles and stuff she's putting out, and I think Genesis Office Hours, which she's doing, is really cool. And I think I said a couple of times that one day I will actually tune in live, but I always just fairly new dad still, and still trying to juggle things in different time zones and everything. I haven't quite managed it yet. So, but I think I've managed to catch a couple of reruns, and I like what she's doing there.
Yeah, so real quickly, I will affirm that. I mentioned Lindsay earlier from Pretty Darn Cute. So if somebody came up to me and said, hey, who are the 3 people in the Genesis community that I should follow, not imitate, because you fall into the danger of coming too close to what they're doing, but the 3 business savvy-ish people, various models who I would say people should emulate or look up to. And I've said this in private conversations in the past. Hey, go follow Bill Erickson and do whatever he does. Go follow Carrie. I completely agree with you. Carrie's another one of those people, and Lindsay's kind of the third of this group of people who just get it. They understand, the importance of branding. They understand the business side of things. They make smart community decisions. They all write on their blog, share information, understand the value of content marketing. And so, Carrie Dills, Bill Erickson, and Lindsay Reel are the 3 people in the community who I would say, if you're new or if you're trying to figure out how to, get to the next level, see what they're doing. Don't copy their tutorials, but just in concept, identify what they're doing and how they're doing it, and apply that to their, to your own life. Yeah,
I mean, I think I'd definitely second all of those people. Like I mentioned, Bill Erickson, I definitely have to buy that guy a beer or two one day when I pass through Cross.
Why don't we? Let's open up to some more questions, if you don't mind, from the community. I see there's one that's been unanswered from David Peralty, who was asking, and I don't know how many people are listening to this live. I wish there was a way to know, other than maybe scoping the Google Plus or the Google event page, which looks like only 9, but I would think there might be more than that. But I wouldn't mind, if anyone's in there and wants to go to the Q&A.
Yeah, please.
Dropping some questions. So if you don't mind, I want to answer David's question, because it does kind of go back to the personal side of things, and it's probably in reference to the post that I dropped this morning on Unfiltered, which is, why were you so worried about revealing that you're a Christian? And I'm going to answer this not because I want to specifically address the Christian part of it, but because I think that you could basically replace the word Christian with a number of adjectives or things, right? Why were you so afraid to share that you're, a homeschooling mom, a whatever? I mean, insert, lifestyle something here. So for me, why it bothered me, and it seems so counterintuitive, because, from a Christian standpoint, we're supposed to, profess the word, right? We're supposed to, you know what, hang on a second, I got to shut my door. My wife just got home, and let me do that real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
So sorry about that interruption.
No worries. That's live television.
It is, exactly. So anyway, why it was difficult for me is that, regardless of how intentfully I wanted to, live a life without numbers, it still mattered to me. So the fear of sharing about X, and I think a lot of people, even people in the comments of my post today, have kind of said the same thing. They echoed the sentiment that people are afraid to have an opinion sometimes online, or to share lifestyle decisions, because the fear is rejection, that it's going to limit their audience, that it's going to change the way they're perceived online. And a girl, Shannon, left a comment which almost left me in tears and said, you know what, I'm not a Christian, but I still come here and read. And it was something that I really needed to hear, because the idea behind Unfiltered is to basically be me, right? And if I'm not being me, then what's the point? But it's, in the same breath, it's also extremely difficult to share things, whether they're stories of depression, whether they're whatever it might be, because people don't like to fail or admit that they fail. There's so much judgment online. Hey, Brian's not who I thought he was because he failed at something. And so admitting that is something that I'm working on. I think there's a lot of knowledge and to be gained and encouragement that I can give others, and that's in the end why I built Unfiltered, was to encourage other people who are online. It's okay to struggle, it's okay to fail, it leads to success and all that. So David, I'm not sure if that exactly answers your question, but probably the best way I can answer it at this point.
Okay, I'll just maybe give another minute to see if there's any other questions, and then if not, we'll just thank everyone and wrap this up.
Sure.
So just 1 second, I'm just going to turn it on. Hey, sorry about that. I had a live television moment too.
No problem.
Well, I'll just do a last check of Twitter. I don't think there's anything on there. So unless there's in one of these other windows, or there's anything else you'd like to say or give a shout out to, I guess we can say thank you very much for your time.
We got a question coming here from Mickey, but while we wait, Carrie Dills. Carrie Dills, I'm addressing this one towards you. I would love, if you would like to have me, I would love to join you on Genesis office hours at some point. So whether that's a statement or a challenge or a request or me begging,
Yes.
I have the bandwidth and the capability of doing so if you would have me, and I would love to do it.
I think that would be great.
Sridhar, there's a site that has some video tutorials on Genesis, but it doesn't seem to be active anymore. Any plans about that? My guess is that he's referring to Studiopress.tv, which was something we had kind of considered doing a while back. As much as I love video stuff, it very quickly gets, I wouldn't say outdated because of updates to the dashboard, but in reality, that's what it is. And so probably not. I think it's this is another example of kind of the Genesis plugin add-on idea where we may not do it, but it would be a fantastic opportunity for a membership, Genesis membership type course or environment to have access like a lynda.com kind of thing. For somebody who wants to produce that, who's got the capability and quality of doing high quality videos, we will probably not do it, or at least be the focal part of our education. So Mickey,
question came through. Yeah, Mickey.
So what is your advice to developers seeking to create Genesis child themes and or plugins for sale? My advice is to do it. I'm not sure, Mickey, if you heard the early part of this, but I did mention identifying the niche. That's usually where little subcultures and communities can kind of gather around. So rather than make something that just kind of bleeds into like a mass of everything, to kind of identify something specific. Noel Talk did, not on Genesis, but is a great example with their, what he did with Happy Tables. He found a very particular audience and did something and did it extremely well. So something like that would be, probably, my advice. And the other side of it is if you're newer to Genesis, to spend some time and a little bit of money after you've built something to have someone look it over. Gary Jones in our community, his Twitter handle is @GaryJ. He's a great example of somebody you can hire to audit a theme, your code. He's meticulous, he's spot on. So to invest in your idea or your business, don't just think you can slap something out and it'll succeed, but really treat everything in business that way. Invest and get other eyes to look it over, and things like that. So
yeah, great advice for pretty much everyone. Certainly us at Lean Teams as well.
Yes, true.
Cool. Let me just see. I think that was no, people just saying thanks for coming on, and I think that's it. Okay, Brian. Any last questions, people? I think that's going to probably wrap it up, unless there's anything
Sure.
else you'd like to add, Brian?
Nah, not really. If there is, it will come out some way on Facebook or Twitter or my blog.
Yeah, and I think I touched on it. I think probably most people watching this would know you well enough to know it, but I definitely recommend checking out unfiltered.me
Thank you.
if you haven't. It's just I read a couple of posts on there, and it's really, yeah, it just really makes you think. And there's still a couple on there. I was like, yeah, I'll definitely go and do that, but it's still sitting at the back of my mind. I still haven't quite done it. Still making excuses. So I hope I'll keep reading it, and one day you'll just push me over the edge, and I'll do Nick Davis Unfiltered, whatever that is.
There you go.
Cool. Well, Brian, let's wrap this up. Thank you again so much. It's really been awesome for me, and hopefully useful for other people. I know how busy you are with all your various launches and new stuff coming up. So thank you for taking the time, and I definitely give a big +1 to Brian Gardner on Genesis Office Hours. That would be cool.
Thank you very much, Nick. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Cool. Cheers. Thank you.
Yep, take care.
Bye-bye.